Centre has now revoked its decision on Sanchar Saathi app mandate. It is not required to be pre-installed in phones. All right, a major breaking news coming in there as far as the existing controversy around Sanchar Saathi app is concerned. We are given to understand that the government has now revoked its decision after protest by the opposition parties, smartphone makers, as well as civil society members and privacy right activists. The centre has now revoked its decision, asking smartphone makers to ensure that Sanchar Saathi app is pre-installed in phones at the time of manufacture. My colleague Karthik Malhotra joining us with more details. Karthik, it's a U-turn there from the government as far as Sanchar Saathi app is concerned.
Absolutely. Just look at the twists and turns to this pot boiler, if I may call it, Shweta. Monday, in fact, on Tuesday, in fact, the DOT issues a circular pretty much mandating every single phone maker out there, from an Apple to a Samsung to a Xiaomi to a Oppo, Vivo, the works, Motorola, telling them that 90 days is all they have to comply with this order, that the Sanchar Saathi app will be pre-installed in every new model which is sold to customers, and as part of the firmware update, every existing user also from March 2026 will have to have access to Sanchar Saathi on their mobile phones. Government's order and Rule 7B specifically in that order also went ahead and said that there is no way that any phone maker should be in a position to disable that app. And then, of course, we saw what we saw yesterday, this political uproar and this public outcry, which then resulted in the Minister of Communications, Mr. Jyotiraditya Scindia, coming out openly and verbally saying something in contradiction to that Rule 7B, that users have a choice to either sign up and use the app, they have a choice to ignore it, or they also have a choice to delete it. Remember, this was in contradiction to what the DOT order said on Tuesday, that the app cannot be disabled. And now the government making a complete U-turn, like you said, and saying that the pre-installation is not mandatory. Now, the timing of this, Shweta, is specifically crucial because just yesterday, in fact, Apple had also gone ahead and said very clearly that it is not going to comply with the government's mandate to pre-install that app, saying that nowhere in the world does it come under any government pressure to pre-install any application. So government at one point saying, hey, it's for your safety, it's for your security, it's for preventing cyber fraud, cyber crimes, and then this civil society uproar that we saw yesterday, and of course all the opposition also had to say in the matter of of your phone being your private space, and that the app could potentially also be used for surveillance purposes, which the government outrightly rejected. Now the government coming out and saying that even pre-installation is not required.
All right, no pre-installation is required. Government has finally revoked that order. You know, there's been a lot of back and forth since Monday, for that matter, Karthik. When the order finally came on Tuesday, there were clarifications given by Jyotiraditya Scindia, the Minister for Telecommunications, saying that it's not mandatory. While, as you're pointing out, the notification stated otherwise. The government finally biting the bullet. Could it be the pressure from, manufacturers, smartphone makers, or the civil society activists? Because opposition is going to, in fact, take the, cherry on the cake and say that it's because of our pressure that the centre finally decided to revoke. But given that smartphone makers, including Apple, came on record yesterday saying we cannot comply with that order, there could be financial repercussions. Could that be the reason why government did that U-turn?
I think a mix of all. See, you cannot pressurize Apple, because Apple is one trophy. iPhone manufacturing is one trophy, that the government likes to showcase, saying that, make in India is actually happening. Manufacturing of high-end phones is happening in India. So you can't really afford to rub Apple the wrong way as well. So I think definitely pressure, or sort of, this push back from Apple is one of the factors which definitely seems to add up in this, in this entire story. And then, of course, political pressure as well as the public outcry. In fact, Twitter, the X feed hasn't stopped buzzing since the time this DOT circular was issued on Tuesday, where multiple journalists, activists, as well as people from the civil society calling out the potential of this app, and the fact that the functionality of the app cannot be restricted, and the Rule 7B, which I spoke about, that the app cannot be disabled by users, really coming out in sharp criticism, saying that, this is pretty much the government doing a front door entry entry into a surveillance mechanism, and the list of permissions that the app is likely to seek from you and access to, even though the government has denied it, but access to potentially even your messages and your private photographs is something that that did spring up as a concern from civil society. So I think a lot of these things sort of pooled in together, one from manufacturers, the pushback from Apple, then of course the civil society outcry and political pressure, all leading now to this, at least this update in the DOT's order that that Sanchar Saathi eventually is going to be a voluntary app for users to install, and no pre-installation mandate, and of course deletion happens to be a right as well.
All right, a lot of back and forth, and after that the centre finally stating clearly that the decision on installing Sanchar Saathi app rests firmly with the users of Sanchar Saathi app, and if they want to keep it, they keep it. But that mandate on smartphone makers to pre-install it has now finally been revoked. That notification by DOT has been revoked. But talking about Sanchar Saathi app, you know, there was a detailed conversation, Karthik, yesterday where BJP members, parliamentarians, in fact, Sambit Patra, addressing people on Sanchar Saathi app, talked about how this is an extremely useful app, how you can report fraud, how you can, get hold of important data and information vis-a-vis government hospitals, fire services, etc. from Sanchar Saathi app, suggesting that this is in fact a tool that people must use and it cannot snoop. The government cannot use Sanchar Saathi app to in fact snoop on people. But a day after all that justification, it seems like the government has finally decided that the pressure is too much.
You're right. So, I think it's a question of what the government can do with an app, or any app developer for that matter. What is it that it can do and what is it that it will do? And that is a thin line which becomes very difficult to define, because potentially any app which is resident on your phone, and if there are certain permissions that you've given that app, there are certain access points that you've given that app, then potentially an app could do a lot more than what it is stated to do. Now, the question is, will all those tools be unleashed, and will those tools be used against the interest of the user or not, is a function of intent. And that intent, I mean, there's often a difference between the stated intent and what the person or what an institution eventually intends to do with it. So having said that, I think this is definitely, there was a clarification, what the government was calling it yesterday, but I don't think that clarification was also clarification. It was pretty much a retractment, and what we are seeing right now is a complete retractment that even though the government had said clearly, and to sort of answer what you started off your question with, that this is a tool which is helpful. Yeah, sure, it must be helpful, but I should have a choice to use it. I should have a choice to use it when I need to use it, and the portal was doing that job anyway. So as a user, if I want to protect my phone and if I trust the institution, whichever institution, in this case it happens to be the government, but if I trust that institution to be resident on my phone, it should be a personal choice. And I think that function of choice is something which the government has now clarified, that the end choice, the end decision making happens with the users and the users only, and it's not a mandate that the app will have to be resident on your device and be present in your phones for as long as your phone or your SIM card or you as a user of smartphones continue to exist.
Stay with us, Karthik. Let's also quickly listen in to Jyotiraditya Scindia yesterday while he was speaking on Sanchar Saathi app and the possibility that it can snoop on people, justifying the government order. Listen in to what he said.
कॉल मॉनिटरिंग है, अगर आप चाहते हो तो इसको आप एक्टिवेट करो, अगर आप नहीं चाहते तो इसे एक्टिवेट मत करो। सुनिए ना, अगर आप इसको अपने फोन पे रखना चाहते हो तो रखो, अगर आप इसको डिलीट करना चाहते हो तो डिलीट करो। जिस तरीके से, उदाहरण के तौर पे, आपके फोन पे जब आप फोन खरीदते हो तो उस पे कई ऐप्स आ जाती हैं, जैसे गूगल मैप्स भी आ जाता है। अब आपको गूगल मैप इस्तेमाल नहीं करना है तो आप डिलीट कर लो, अगर आपको संचार साथी इस्तेमाल नहीं करना है तो डिलीट कर दो। इसका मतलब ये ऑप्शनल है सर, ऑब्वियसली डिलीट कर सकते हो आप, कोई प्रॉब्लम नहीं है। तो बात का बतंगड़, एक मिनट, वही तो हर भ्रम को मैं तोड़ने की कोशिश कर रहा हूँ। ये कस्टमर प्रोटेक्शन की बात है और हर भ्रम को मैं तोड़ने की कोशिश कर रहा हूँ। आपको डिलीट करना है तो आप डिलीट कर दोगे, आप, कोई मैंडेटरी नहीं है। आप अगर रजिस्टर नहीं करना चाहते हो, मतलब कि उदाहरण के तौर पे इस ऐप का उपयोग नहीं करना चाहते हो तो रजिस्टर मत करो, वो डोरमेंट रहेगा। डिलीट करना है तो डिलीट कर लो। पर क्या हो, एक मिनट, पर हर व्यक्ति को देश में नहीं मालूम कि मुझे फ्रॉड से प्रोटेक्ट करने के लिए मुझे चोरी से प्रोटेक्ट करने के लिए ये ऐप है, तो हर व्यक्ति तक ये ऐप पहुंचाना हमारी जिम्मेदारी है। अगर आपको डिलीट करना है तो डिलीट कर दो।
That's Minister for Telecommunications as of yesterday saying that this app, if you want to delete, can be deleted in a way contradicting what the official notification had said earlier, clarifying that one need not keep it installed and need not install it even if it's in your phone, and may not activate it even if it's in your phone and it's pre-installed in your phone. Now, that order has been revoked, and Jyotiraditya Scindia, the Minister for Telecommunications, has once again spoken to the media. Listen into what he said today.
संचार साथी क्या है? संचार साथी एक ऐसा ऐप है जिसके आधार पर, जन भागीदारी के आधार पर, आज देश की एक एक जनता और नागरिक अपने आप को सुरक्षित रख सकता है फ्रॉड से, स्टोलन मोबाइल से, अपने स्टोलन मोबाइल को रिकॉर्ड कर सकता है, रिपोर्ट कर सकता है। और 20 करोड़ हिट सर हमारे पोर्टल पे हुए हैं, करीब 1.5 करोड़ ऐप डाउनलोड हुए, और इसी के आधार पर जन भागीदारी, इसकी सफलता, सॉफ्टवेयर तो हमने बनाई है सरकार ने, पर इसकी सफलता का श्रेय अगर किसी को जाता है तो जनता को जाता है सर, क्योंकि उनके उपयोग के आधार पर ही हम लोग सफल हो पाए। और आज मैं रिकॉर्ड पे रखना चाहता हूं कि इस ऐप और पोर्टल के आधार पर 1.5 करोड़ मोबाइल कनेक्शन देश के अंदर डिस्कनेक्ट हुए हैं जो फ्रॉडुलेंट हैं, क्योंकि जनता ने रिपोर्ट किया है। करीब 26 लाख स्टोलन हैंडसेट हम लोग ने ट्रेस किए, 7 लाख स्टोलन हैंडसेट जो उपभोक्ता है उसे हमने वापस भी कर दिया है, और 41 लाख मोबाइल कनेक्शन डिस्कनेक्ट हुए हैं, 6 लाख फ्रॉड हम लोग ने ब्लॉक किए। इसी के आधार पर हम लोग ने ये कोशिश की कि हम लोग हर एक नागरिक को वो चॉइस दें, क्योंकि ऐप फोन पे है, इसका मतलब नहीं है कि वो ऑटोमेटिकली ऑपरेट हो जाएगा। जब तक मैं उपभोक्ता के रूप में उसमें रजिस्टर ना करूं, तब तक वो ऑपरेट नहीं होगा। और मैं उपभोक्ता के आधार पर, जैसे मेरे फोन पर सर ढेर सारे ऐप्स होते हैं, मैं उस ऐप को भी दबा के मैं डिलीट कर सकता हूं। तो ये लोकतंत्र में पूर्ण हक और अधिकार नागरिक का है सर। हम लोग ने केवल ये ऐप सभी को उपलब्ध कराने के लिए कदम लिया है।
All right, that was the minister earlier today speaking about Sanchar Saathi app and why it's important for smartphone makers to pre-install it. But as of this afternoon, the centre has now finally revoked its decision to make the app mandatory for pre-installation on all smartphones in the country. But that's the latest coming in.